Okay, I think we can start. So welcome everybody to the first online training for the Innovation Booster Fashion and Lifestyle program. Today we will explore the details about testing desirability for an innovation program, which is a really important part of the innovation process. Many times is overseen towards the other aspects of the innovation phases on actually producing something, either is a process or a product, so about feasibility, viability. But the first thing to think about is how the consumer, how the market will respond to a new innovation. So it's paramount for us. So today we will have two amazing trainers that will explore this topic with us. And I would like to introduce myself. First of all, I'm Daniele Panato. I'm the Community Development and Innovation Booster Director of the Innovation Booster Fashion and Lifestyle. And I would like to take a few minutes to share with you the details about the program, how is it structured, and how you could join in case you could be interested in it. So let me share the screen. Perfect. So the objective of our program is to foster radical innovation in Switzerland in the mainly in the fashion industry. And first of all, the Innovation Booster is powered and financed by InnoSwiss, the Swiss Federal Agency, Swiss Innovation Agency. And the objective is to the objective, first of all, the InnoSwiss is to fund innovation in Switzerland and to promote knowledge transfer from research to the industry. And the Innovation Booster is a funding instrument that has been implemented in the last few years. And the objective is to work on the very first steps of the innovation funnel into finding new ideas to be tested. Therefore, the Innovation Booster Fashion and Lifestyle leverages this big and large community that we have out of Switzerland, as D'Agora, which is the leading house, which is managing the Innovation Booster, is based in Lugano, and Ticino also is hosting a lot of companies working in fashion and attract also potentially internationally other companies. So the objective is to put the community together to match the research part with the industry part. And throughout events, research, and workshops that we will briefly look at it in a minute, there is a potential of funding up to 10 ideas per year, up to 28,000 francs per idea, to prove its validity, to be radical, and to impact the market, to find a new way to improve the challenges that are affecting the market. And therefore, usually the program is structured in six main phases. The first one is an industry workshop. Already, this is the second year of the program. So the program, just to clarify, started in 2024 and will last until 2027. And already last year, we did two industry workshops to find what are the problems and challenges of the fashion industry and how these new ideas can tackle those problems and challenges. Then we open an open call for challenges, meaning that we are looking for innovation hypotheses. So the first call of 2025 has been open at the beginning of the month, at the beginning of February. So now it's open to receive innovation hypotheses, which are potential ideas to be explored and co-created, where they could be co-created in a workshop, dedicated workshop. So we organize a workshop on the 6th of May this year in Lugano, where we gather and also we help the different parties to match up and to co-create new potential radical ideas to be tested. If they are successful to be tested, before that, there is the access to a pitch day where the idea can be presented to a dedicated jury, and the jury, which is independent and diversified, can decide upon the ideas that are eligible and good for funding. And I wanted to dive in a little bit briefly about this call now open. So it's called Threads of Innovation, Weaving Tech into Fashion's Future. And basically, we started exploring these potential new innovation hypotheses, starting from the fact that fashion is struggling with the acceleration of technology. So the first call will be centered around the technology that could be applied into the fashion industry. And the difficulties of the industry is to use specific solutions using a very fast moving technology to address some key challenges which are detailed in the Joint Create platform, and you can find out more later on. I will leave some references to our website, and then through our website you can access to the Joint Create platform. And those challenges start from AI and Gen AI, which is a very buzzword that we hear every day. Then we gather from the industry that 3D based technologies are as well something that could be leveraged, as well as omni-channel digital experiences and immersive multimedia. Data intelligence, data is so broad that it needs specific solutions, and robotics as well into the manufacturing part of the industry. So I invite you all to visit our website to find out more on the Joint Create platform about this call. And for whoever is interested in the call, there are all the instructions to submit an innovation hypothesis and participate to the program. And I recall that also is important that the participation of the workshop is mandatory. So it's something that you need to consider. Briefly, the innovation teams are formed. So if a company or a researcher submit an innovation hypothesis, we help to find a match between the two, because an idea can be pitched and funded if there is an innovation team formed. An innovation team is composed by a research partner, so a university, research institute, or another institute which does actual research in the field of technology or something based in Switzerland. So the important part is that the research partner needs to be based in Switzerland, and the implementation partner can be national or international. So from whoever has a legal entity, so from startups to large enterprises. The important thing is that if an international implementation partner joins an innovation team, another implementation partner needs to be present into the team and needs to be based in Switzerland. And ultimately, the funding will go to a Swiss beneficiary, because the purpose of the program is to impact the Swiss fashion and lifestyle market and industry. The pitch jury, as I mentioned, is structured into representatives from research, from business, from society, so industry associations, investors that will decide. So they are experts of technology, and they know very well the fashion industry, and they will decide independently which ideas are to be funded. So this is the composition that you can find also on our website, and there are professors from all over Switzerland, also from brands like Boef International or Philippe Lane, Etro, etc., and investors and other representatives. So you can explore them better. And the output, so when an idea receives funding, the funding needs to be used for testing the potential of that idea, and testing the idea in three areas that we will find out later on better in the desirability, viability, or feasibility. And so, for instance, is to build a proof of concept, to run a feasibility study, or to run a market assessment. So one of the area, and today we will focus on desirability. And we thank the sponsors of the program that supports us into promoting and making possible to run this program. So Seven for All Mankind, Alpha Square Invest, Philip Line, Hugo Boss, and UBS. A few ones will join later this year, and they are also part of our pitch jury. So I leave a few seconds this QR code, but you can visit our website, ibfashionandlifestyle.ch, where you can find more information about the program, and especially you can visit the Join Create platform, find out more about the call, and possibly and hopefully we are happy if you're interested and you join the program. So there are also a couple of references in terms of email if you would like to reach us for more information. And this training will be recorded and published online on our website, so you can find also later on. So I thank you very much, and I will pass the word to Elena to present herself, and Janine as well, that we can start actually the training of today. So thank you.
Thank you, and good afternoon, everyone. Thank you again, Daniele, for having us. So let me share my screen so we can start. All right. So thank you very much. So let's move here. Okay, so let's start with our introduction. So my name is Elena Marchiori, and I work for the city of Lugano, where I have contributed to create the Lugano Living Lab, which is one of the first Swiss urban lab, digital innovation lab within the public administration, working with industries and in the academia with universities. I'm more specialized in requirements and assessments within the innovation cycle, we will see later on. And I have more than 12 years of experience in teaching on usability and digital analytics. Janine, what about you?
Yes, hi everyone. Nice to be here. Thanks, Daniela, for the invitation and for the chance to be with you today. My name is Janine Videva. I am an innovation manager at Roche International. And currently, I work for digital products, which mainly are algorithm-based products. Before my current role, I was exploration lead for business product teams. That means that I was working with international product managers on finding business opportunities for new products. And that's for my corporate experience. Before joining the corporation 5 years ago, I was actually in the startup space where I worked for technological startups in Switzerland, where I was taking care more of the marketing and the business development around different areas like renewable energy, fashion, Web3, and blockchain and fintech.
Okay, super. So when we started to plan this this webinar with you, we decided with Janine to structure in 3 phases. So we will start a deep dive into the understanding of desirability within this innovation cycle. We will see in a moment, and then we would like to propose you an approach to test the desirability of your idea, and then we will leave a moment for our wrap up in our Q&A session. Okay, but let's start with this keyword, with this concept of desirability. And we will see that it's behind a big question. Do people truly want or need what I'm offering? It sounds quite easy, right, Janine, to as a question, but we will see in a moment that it's not just about answering to this big general question. And before to deep dive into the key elements of the desirability, we would like to start with this approach. So if you type online and you search for desirability, you saw already in one of the slides of Daniela before, you might find something like that. So desirability is always connected with other 2 concepts, the concept of feasibility and viability. Indeed, when we talk about desirability, we need to consider it within this innovation cycle where you have also feasibility and viability. But Janine, do you mind to help me out to better present this part?
Yeah, indeed. So the 3 cycles of innovation, right? This is the foundational concept in design thinking, but also in innovation management. Desirability, it's all about the customer. Exactly. Thank you. Are we solving a problem? Are we solving a need, a real pain point? Then we have feasibility, which is about the technology. Can the solution be technically implemented and built? And then we have the viability, which is more about the business. So does the solution make, financial sense? Can we make money out of it? And does it align with business goals and the business strategy, especially in the case of corporate innovation? So at the intersection of all these three, as we can see in the next slide, is where innovation happens. Sorry, the slide before. Exactly. So even though, we need to bring forward all these three aspects, right? The desirability, feasibility, and the viability, almost contemporarily, we need to bring them forward when we create a business. We need to start somewhere, right? But where do we start? And yes, we start with desirability. Why? Because, we might have a perfect technological solution and we might have the channels even to sell the technological solution. But if we're not solving a real problem, if the solution is not desirable, there is little market success to be expected. So if we start with desirability, let's then understand what are the key elements of desirability. And I'm passing it to you, Elena.
Indeed. So if we want to sum up the key elements of desirability, we might have these two big group of concepts. So one is about the understanding of the audience. So understanding the needs, the empathy, and the customer experience. And just, we will see later on how to approach and how to reach out our customer in order to collect this kind of feedback. And then we have also anyhow desirability related to the human-centered design and aesthetic of our product, of our prototype, of and then this is another aspect of desirability. But Janine, what the innovators said about the desirability.
Yes, right. So the forever long innovation debate, right? So does innovation come from technological breakthroughs or does it come from customer needs? And, we are witnessing a few important technological breakthroughs in our lifetime nowadays around blockchain and artificial intelligence. And we naturally build products using these technologies, right? And we then look for markets for these products. But is that the correct approach? Is there even a correct approach? We can reflect a bit on this with the help of the next slide, please. So where the car was invented or where the iPod now was invented, it's difficult to believe that they were invented because their inventors heard from customers, right? Heard that from customers. So what happens in these cases usually, and in many other cases where we have technological breakthroughs, is that, right, we have this genius leadership and with this foresight from some visionary people that are able with perseverance and also with some good amount of financial support to bring those products to market and to find the product market fit. But they also had some struggles in the beginning, when the car was brought to the market, it was just too expensive to have this initial big adoption right from the beginning. And actually, when Steve Jobs presented the iPod, and if you look at the recording, you will see that he's really struggling to explain the difference between the iPod and the other solutions on the market, like the CD player back in the times and the MP3 player. So maybe, right, maybe if they have listened to the customers before launching the products, they would have discovered a few insights that would have accelerated or helped the product adoption on the market. And the lessons learned in this case, it's okay to start with technology, but do listen to the customers first, or at least do that contemporarily. Indeed, as we see in the next slide, please, customer development should be parallel to product development. And yes, it's a paradigm shift, right, in our way of thinking, because we are used to thinking steps in which first we build the product, and the second step is the offering our product to the market. But we need to switch that, right? We need to think in cycles instead. something like, okay, I have an idea, but let's see who are my customers. How can I get to know them as closely as possible? And how can I represent, how can I convey my idea in the less expensive way possible? And therefore, how can I test the value of my idea with customers before I invest a lot of time and a lot of money in it? And to help us think in cycles, we need to understand the differences between the different types of innovation projects. So, Elena, do you want to tell us more
So
about
let's
that?
try again to maybe to sum up the main type of innovation project. It has been also introduced by Daniela before, but anyhow, we might have these two directions. One is about the radical innovation, where it's a matter of creating brand new business model ideas, new process idea, new product, service idea. And at the same time, we might have also incremental innovation, where you have more an improvement of existing business model, improvement of existing process, improvement of existing products and services. But we mentioned many times business model, Janine. I think it's quite important to understand what is the relationship of business model and desirability before to propose an approach. Do you mind to continue on that?
Absolutely. If we look at the overall business model canvas, or the lean canvas in this case, which is the one that we chose to put in here, where is desirability located? It's located under the customer segment. Who is the customer that we are serving? Then it's also located under the problem. What is the problem that we are solving? Or also, what is the potential that we're exploring? And it's also located under the unique value proposition, meaning why should customers choose this solution over the competitors or over similar solutions? So, if desirability is weak, the business won't get traction regardless of how strong the feasibility or the viability is. And then the question is, as we can see in the next slide, when is a good time to start testing desirability? Well, that's right from the beginning. Start testing desirability as early as possible before investing significant time and resources into building your product and service. And the earlier you test desirability, the faster you can pivot actually, or refine your idea before now wasting time on something that maybe nobody wants. So exactly, Elena and I wanted really to include this clarification around the levels of granularity for testing desirability to make sure that we make this point crystal clear. You can and should test desirability for early stage innovation at the very beginning of you having a business idea. At this level, your testing will be more like exploratory. It will aim to identify the demand and the need and the problem. But you can also, and you should, test the desirability of existing products as well. The goal will shift into fine-tuning the product based on real customer feedback, and it will be about validating your idea and your value proposition on the market. And in the next slide, we can see some methods. Thank you. So yeah, just to manage some expectations here, we will go through some high-level elements of some methods later in the webinar. But this is to say that it's very important to ask the right questions and to ask them in the right way. So we practitioners, but also, it's accessible to people who are not researchers, to find practical guidelines on conducting desirability research within the research methods theory. And if we can have a look at this table, for opportunity identification and generative research, which is what we do in early innovation, we use methods like user interviews, participatory design, and qualitative surveys. And then you can see those in blue are the next methods that we use further down the line when we actually have a product that's already on the market. But now, Elena, what is the approach that we are suggesting to people?
So we wrote here research and validation because, yes, if we have to test, we need to conduct a research. We have to conduct a study about our users, about and also it's written here validation, because if we have to test, it means we have to validate the findings from our research. So The idea, so big disclaimer, so this is an approach to test desirability. So of course, Janine just present you, there are also many other methods and other approach to testing desirability. So this is a proposal, but again, it's a quite vast topic. So let's propose 4 steps. The first one is about identify and validate your customer. And later on, we will move to formulating testable hypotheses. And then we will see how to conduct also test on your value proposition with a prototype. It's not a typo, it's a prototype. We will see the difference with a prototype later on. And then the last step is about iterate based on feedback. So, but let's start with the first step. That is, again, about identify and validate your customers. So I'm going to present you here something that maybe you are already familiar with, is with the concept of personas. So it's absolutely something that we are maybe used to hear. So just to clarify, personas, the fictional characters, which you can create based upon your research to present different user types that might use your service, your product site or brand. So it's a single face to many users. So it's quite important to have, let's say, you have a persona, Rachel, and represents a specific group of user. And it's quite important. There is a name, there is a face, there is her, his characteristic, and it's quite important to memorize that persona. But we will see that current trends is also working on the concept of archetypes that are more abstract. So you don't have a single face to many users. So you have mental models. You have mental models. It's more focused on motivation, and it's definitely more inclusive. So it's not a substitution of the persona, it's a different, a new also way to describe and identify your customer. So the goal is to identify also this concept of archetypes is to identify sub-communities based on archetypes that emerge around specific interaction or stages of the customer journey. So this is just a clarification. So you see, you have an example of the persona. In that case, we have Rachel, reliability researcher, and then with her characteristics. And then at the other side, you have an example of an archetype. So it's more based on needs and then behavior. So, and now the big question is, if in the first step we have anyhow to identify our customer, how to reach out this customer in order to start to collect feedback on this desirability. So we have again 2 directions here. The first direction is to use your actual contacts. Most probably you have your own network, you have your community. Use it, leverage your hard data. So the example of formats are the classic ones. So the interviews, the focus group, and observation. It means that you have to take the time to interact with real users, with people. So how many, maybe you're thinking, how many people you have to interact? Well, a saturation rate statistically can typically be achieved with 5-9 users. And it means that after this number of interaction, you're not going to have more, let's say, insight statistically, of course. But anyhow, you're thinking, well, I don't have already this community. I don't have, let's say, users. So what am I do? So another way right now is to work on the concept of simulated contents. So indeed, a format is using the synthetic users, meaning that they are simulated or virtual profiles. So they are AI generated profile that attempts to mimic a user group, providing artificial research findings produced without studying real user. So basically a synthetic user will express simulated thoughts, simulated needs and experiences. So it's simulated. So indeed, if you there are tools that will help you, like synthetic users. They are specialized, for instance, it's just an example, to interact with these synthetic users and get, let's say, simulated reaction and feedback. So there is also something quite important to remember, that synthetic users are not a substitute of real users. So indeed, we invite you also to deep dive into this research from Nielsen Group, where it's well explained if, when, and how to use this AI generated research. So anyhow, this is it's important to acknowledge that it's not the same interacting with real user and simulated AI generated users. So, and I know this is quite dense, this slide, but this is an example of questions, for instance, of an interaction that you started to have with users. So as you can see, before to talk about desirability, you need to invest time in exploring the context and the background of your user. You need to invest time in understanding how the interviewee, for instance, currently deals with a problem and their pain points. They assess how important the problem is to the participant and its impact on them. They learn, for instance, how the problem affects them emotionally or personally. And then you might switch, another dense slide, promise is the last one. You might switch later on today, collecting the reaction of the new idea. If you understand, we are still talking about collecting reaction at abstract level. You can share indeed your concept. You're not going to share any prototype or any prototype. You're still sharing concept and gather initial reaction in order to collect feedback. Indeed, you might then explore how well the idea resonates with their needs and challenges, discuss how the interview might use the solution, and identify key feature, understand the participant perception of the solution's value. So we have collected many information. Maybe you're thinking, do I have to do it manually? Do I have to collect and write? Well, there are tools specialized in helping entrepreneur, helping researcher, helping analysts to conduct this kind of research. Here we have an example, for instance, Anguess or user testing, but there are many other tools that will help you to conduct such research. They will help you to create a project setup, project launch, data gathering, analysis, deliverable. But if you don't have also user, as mentioned, there are also synthetic user. But if you want to talk with real user, you have even tools that will help you to, with the concept of crowd testing, they have the community of testers that will help you to put in contact, to allow you to create contact with real user that will test even your initial idea. For instance, a Triber or Applause. Remember, there is also a key role of AI in this process. So when you are interacting with this user, especially if you're using such a tools, you have also an important contribution from the AI, from the artificial intelligence, because you might have live insight summary of the interaction. You might have also live automation in the survey teams. And also, if you are maybe conducting interview, you might have also, thanks to face recognition or eye tracking, you might have also friction detection when a person is interacting with you. So AI might already helping you to interpret and provide insight on the data that you are elaborating. So you might have also insight in the sentiment analysis. So you are not, let's say, alone in conducting this kind of research. But Janine, so we have done this user first part of user research. Are we done with the testing yet?
No, not of course. So yes, we go into the second step, which is formulation of a testable hypothesis. But what is a hypothesis, right? A hypothesis is a statement or an assumption that you can test through research and experimentation. At this point, if you have done step one, which Elena just explained, you will be able to formulate pretty reliable hypotheses based on the data and not only based on your thoughts, right, on your assumptions. For example, an example of hypothesis that we put here, urban professionals struggle to find affordable workwear that blends style, comfort, and sustainability. The goal is really to have a prioritized list of hypotheses, because you will have more than one hypothesis, you will have actually many, and prioritizing them in a way to have the most critical hypothesis on top and start with testing those more critical hypotheses is pretty important. But how to track if the hypothesis is evolving? Next slide, please. So we recommend to divide the hypothesis into customer hypothesis, problem hypothesis, and solution hypothesis, and to keep track of their evolution based on the interaction and the research cycles that we execute. This will really allow us to, thoughtfully plan for the pivot of our idea if that's needed. So far we've gathered our data, we formulated the testable hypothesis. Now it's time to test. Next slide, please. Yes, so we call this step testing with a prototype. This is to distinguish the very important detail that your testing tool or tactic has to be something that doesn't require, a lot of time or money to develop, but it can still test your value proposition. So a prototype can still give you the hints about the desirability of your solution before you even develop the prototype and the MVP. So it's really designed to validate quickly if an idea is worth pursuing and building in the first place. So what are some examples of prototypes, Elena?
Yeah, sure. So one classic example is the one-pager website. So let me clarify on something. So with this concept of prototype, as Janine said, we might still have not developed our app. So this is an example. So we have a one-pager website that highlights the main proposition, the main value proposition, for instance, one tap order for everything. And there is a clear call to action, for instance, sign up for early access, to pre-order, to take the survey. So what's super important here is that we are not at step one where we are, let's say, limited to still to a limited group of people, where we are still just testing the initial idea. Here we are at step 3. We are in the market. We are already ready to share a one-pager with the market, even if we haven't developed our prototype yet. But in this phase, is super crucial to start to really do something in the market in order to collect what you're going to collect. The engagement reaction, potential conversion reaction, and these information are quite important in order to understand, again, this key concept of desirability. For instance, there is another example. There is an interest, for instance, in interacting with the value proposition display, for instance, in the social media ads. This is another example, practical example of a prototype. So you have for instance, one-pager landing or a social media ads where you are promoting, you're asking a specific call to action, and you're going to measure the engagement and the conversion. And as you see, we need to say that you might have, let's say, different feedback. You might have maybe not the conversion or the engagement you were expecting. And this is not, and we have to consider many aspects. You remember, we mentioned also the aesthetic. You mentioned also other aspects that you need to consider, because maybe you mess up with the wording, you mess up with the graphic. So, and again, we need to come back and redefine what you're going to propose to the market, to the customer. Indeed, are we done with the testing yet? Having these 3 steps, Janine, or what?
No, actually, at the end, the 4th step is iteration, but we're actually ending with something dynamic, because this is the mindset shift that we want to bring. We are never done doing desirability, but this is a cycle. So if we can see in the next slide, exactly the screenshot from Indy Young's work, which I appreciate very much. You can see how this iteration cycle starts from the very beginning of the product life cycle and goes all the way through the end of it, right? So we have the problem space where we still do these iterations of understanding the problem, understanding the customer, which then feeds into the business strategy. And if you can see here, it says product strategy may have something to do with technology, but it has everything to do with people. So then we continue also throughout the solution space. And at this point, we already have a product that maybe it's also on the market, but we still continue this iteration cycle. We still continue to gather information and to improve our product. So next slide, please. What are some of the best practices, for this continuous refining of your product and service? So it's a good practice to create a portfolio of hypotheses and prototypes to test in an iterative process. For when you're in the problem space, it's good to make sure that you execute these listening cycles once in a while, right? Once per year at least. And for the solution space, it's actually a good practice to create a system for continuous discovery, to continuously uncovering needs and validating ideas and refining your product. Next slide, please. So yes, it's an ongoing process indeed, and it's about continuous engagement with customers. So instead of running this research at fixed intervals of time, I don't know, at the beginning of a launch or something, no, or something like that, it's about integrating this discovery into regular workflows of our company to ensure that they are always aligned with the customer needs. And after having said all this, Elena, what are the main things to remember?
Well, we have to also remember that these kind of activities create a lot of documentation. Of course, if you started to record and report, and this is also our suggestion, as mentioned, it's super important to track what you have done. And indeed, this kind of structure and documentation plays a key role in this approach, ensuring that insights, findings, and adjustments are recorded systematically. This is something that is it is quite important for us to share with you, because having this research done will help you. It will be quite key also if you are searching for funding, if you're searching for investor. They are asking you evidence of the desirability of your idea. It's not just a matter of, let's say, have shared some feedback with a group of users. You need to follow and create these activities in order to collect and improve your idea. So we have underlined also this sentence, Janine. It's part of the cycle of innovation. Do you want to conclude on that?
Indeed, indeed. So we wanted really to conclude the same way that we started, right? So today we're talking about desirability, but desirability really is one piece of the puzzle. It's a very important one, is the first one to start indeed, but it's just one piece. So we need to bring forward this three streams of work contemporarily, right? The one that covers desirability, the one that covers the technical feasibility, and the one that continuously thinks about the viability, the business model, and of course, how do we make money out of this? So yes, that's from my side. Just wanted to mention to the people in our public that we have a discount code for synthetic users trial. Actually, if someone wants to try it out. Yes, the founders were very nice to give us this discount, which I just put in the chat. And yes, that's it. We are welcoming any questions and also leaving our contacts. Yeah.
Super. So thank you again, Janine, and ready to discuss.
Yes. So thank you, Elena. Thank you, Janine. Let me just enable the mics for the participants, for whoever can have a question. So everyone, if anyone has a question, can raise his or her hand and can. Great.
Ciao Daniele, I wrote a question in our chat.
Yes, please tell us what is if you want to read it out loud.
Yes. You mentioned listening to the user customers as a key component of validation, and you also mentioned artificial intelligence as a potential substitute for interviews. But do you think that in the future, artificial intelligence will be so powerful that it could replace voice of customers analysis and user interviews? Thank you.
Thank you,
Wow.
Lorenzo.
So do you want me that I start, Janine? Do you want to start?
You can start and I can continue
Well,
later.
and first of all, thank you for your question, Lorenzo. And let's say that I think we all see the improvement of AI every day. And then there is also a philosophical answer before the technical answer. So we would like to consider that a machine, let's say a technology, is not going to replace humans, first of all. Okay, so it's always an added value to interact with real users. So to answer to your question, let's say from a more philosophical perspective, it's not going to replace the voice of customer analysis. AI, it will be anyhow a support, is already part of the team. It's if we have a team, we have also AI, it's part of the team. So most probably it's not a replace, but as an integration and support in all the steps in designing and conducting, for instance, interaction, analysis of the interaction, reported of the interaction, and then again, the proposition of next step based on the results. So it's definitely a support, but not a replacement as it is. So Janine, I don't know if you want to integrate.
Yeah, indeed. No, I totally echo what Elena said. Just to bring my example, right, together with my team, we started experimenting with AI research and analysis 1.5 years ago, maybe already 2, right, when we started having the first tools available. And back in the time, the feedback that we had was pretty bad, right? We were not happy with the answers that we were getting. We were not happy with the analysis that was proposed. Nowadays, today, like the last research that I executed on synthetic users was 1 month ago. And I must say that I was totally impressed. And what happened as a result is that I decreased significantly the amount of real people that I got then in touch with, not to validate the data that I got from the synthetic users. So in terms of timing, it's a huge saving, but also annoying in terms of expenditure as well. So it got much cheaper. So I really think that, it's not that I think it, it's obviously that these tools will get better and better. And therefore, we as practitioners, we just need to acknowledge that, we need to monitor that, and we need to integrate this in our work. So I believe that this is the way to go.
Someone else. You're welcome.
We can ask a question. Is there someone who is doing research now, or who is testing desirability, or who is wondering how to start test desirability? Maybe we can help.
Or we might have some expert in the field that would like to add something, some considerations, something that we haven't covered that it will be interesting to discuss. See? No, Daniele. So
yes,
I guess we are.
If there is no addition, I would like to conclude that, first of all, thanking you for the amazing presentation. I think it's really key to shed a light on this really important aspect. And today we learned that there is so much to do on testing and desirability. I think the main takeaways is, first of all, we heard that a lot innovation is a cycle. It's made of multiple cycles. So it's important to understand that you need to go back to the basics and test it again and be able to be of this degree of flexibility and degree of being moldable. Let's say you need to mold yourself around the innovation that you are looking at and change your perspective based on the feedback that you receive. And it's very important because we see often that people already come with the solution. And also we heard that problem is something overseen. So the problem needs to be explored again and again. And problem is part of the desirability. So when we work on innovation, we are looking at a possible solution, but coming to the actual solution, it means to deep dive on this problem and understand it also from a variety of different customers. As we see today, you need to understand all the nuances among the customers. And I think that the match and the understanding of the Innovation Booster program, which is giving the funds, the methodology, and the guidance also from experts and the community around fashion, lifestyle, and innovation in general, to be able to test the potential of the idea. So before deep diving into building a POC or building investments, also, Janine, you mentioned it, it's very important to be solid. And therefore, I think the potential of the innovation program that we are running is to consolidate that potential new radical ideas with testing, with methodology, and then we will support also with a dedicated voucher. So actually, since 2024, the voucher was optional. This year will be offered only to test desirability, one available budget of 2,500 francs, and the other voucher will be used for future implementation or further investment for the idea. So that's only the beginning, but I think to start with the right foot, it's important to come to actual improvements and innovation that can disrupt the industry later on. So I thank everyone that attended, and we will send some references to share also this training with colleagues or acquaintances to watch it again. So thank you very much.
Thank you all.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.